Joining me now, Democratic Congressman Tom Malinowski, who sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He just returned from Ukraine after meeting with the country's leaders there. He made headlines by revealing that his office has been flooded with calls from Tucker fans demanding a more pro-Russia stance. Also with us, Evelyn Farkas, former Obama official whose work focused on Russia and Ukraine. It's great to have both of you with us. Congressman, I'll start with you. What can you tell us about the situation on the ground there in Ukraine?
I was just there with a bipartisan delegation. We met with President of Ukraine, with the whole government, with many ordinary Ukrainians. They're obviously very tense. They tell us they've been living with this for 7 years. Remember, Russia first invaded Ukraine in 2014. They've been living with cyber attacks. They've been living with hybrid warfare. There is a spate of fake bomb threats being phoned into schools and shopping centers and offices all over the country. But I think there's also a growing recognition among Ukrainians that this is a little bit different, that there's a real possibility, not a certainty, but a real possibility that this time Putin's not just going to try to lob off a chunk of Ukraine, but he may go for the very heart. And they're preparing for that with our help.
Evelyn, you know, everybody knows that the U.S. is not going to send troops to defend Ukraine. I don't believe the Ukrainians are actually asking for that. They don't want that. But what are the best options for the U.S. for either containing Vladimir Putin or deterring him from carrying out this action?
Well, I think it's pretty much what the administration is doing. So first of all, threatening very strong economic sanctions on a level that we wouldn't go to a degree that we wouldn't go under the Obama administration. Second, providing assistance to the Ukrainians, as the good congressman just said. And this assistance now is much more robust again than anything we contemplated before. And then third, what just happened today at the UN, putting diplomatic pressure on Russia and showing the world exactly who the aggressor is. Because if Russia gets away with what they're doing in Ukraine, they'll try elsewhere. And you better believe a lot of other countries will try the same, seizing territory, invading their neighbor, tactics themselves.
Hey, Congressman, as you know better than anyone, Tucker Carlson has attacked you personally on his show. What do you make of his reaction to the Ukraine-Russia situation? I mean, he has taken on a very pro-Kremlin message that some say is actually more Russian than the Russians have actually adopted.
Yeah, I don't really care about Tucker Carlson, but I do care that this message is going out every night to millions of people across the country. And as you reported, I started getting calls from my constituents basically saying, I've been watching Tucker and we're being way too hard on Russia. And why should we go fight a war for this unimportant country, Ukraine, that's far away? Of course, no one is suggesting that we should go to war for Ukraine, as you pointed out. But that really struck me, that this is beginning to resonate among the public. And I can tell you, this is good news, that most Republicans in Congress are totally solid on Ukraine. They want us to stand by this country. They understand the threat that Russia poses. But they're beginning to feel this pressure percolating from their base as well, because this is the guy who speaks to more Republicans every night than anyone in America, and that's bound to have consequences over time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you have that kind of bullhorn that you're using to speak to people, it's no wonder that it's starting to percolate among the Republican base. Evelyn, what's your view of Tucker being praised by Russian state TV hosts?
Well, they clearly find him very useful. And obviously, with my kind of suspicious national security mind, I'm wondering, why is this American broadcaster, entertainer, really doing the work of the autocratic Russian government? And he's been at this for a while. I've been a target of his because I was one of the first people to call out the collaboration between the Trump campaign officials and the Russian government back when he was running for the presidency. So it's very alarming to me. You know that he's also done this with Viktor Orban, who, Hungary is a member of NATO. They're supposedly democratic, but Viktor Orban himself has said we're an illiberal democracy. So he's also verging on basically, in essence, an autocrat. So I'm disturbed by it because as the congressman said, my friend Tom, these people, Americans are watching every night. They trust him. And yet he's siding with autocrats, and we are a democracy here in America.
Yeah, and let me just be clear. I haven't seen any American official say we want to send troops to defend Ukraine, and yet Tucker Carlson is positioning this as if American soldiers are being sent to die for or defend Ukraine or fight the Russians. That's not the case at all. So I don't even know why that framing is taking place. But then again, I don't know a lot of things about what is happening over at Fox. Congressman, Axios is reporting that GOP operatives working in 2022 primary races worry they'll alienate the base if they push to commit American resources to Ukraine or deploy U.S. troops to other parts, not in Ukraine, but to other parts in Eastern Europe. Your response to that?
We got a lot of cowards out there. And in my own race, I've got a challenging race in my district in New Jersey. My main opponent has refused to take a stand on this. He seems to be caught between traditional Republican foreign policy and Tucker Carlson and the former president of the United States, and he doesn't know what to say. I think that's a telling signal. Again, Republicans in Congress, for the most part, are with us. We were together in this delegation to Ukraine last week, but I think some of the Republican leaders in our country are in denial about what is percolating up from the base, and only they can speak to this. I can't, obviously, tell folks who watch Tucker Carlson every night that they're being fed Russian propaganda.
Congressman Tom Malinowski, Evelyn Farkas, thanks to the both of you. Greatly appreciate it.